The first one is, what is the purpose of OFAC? And then how does OFAC, and the follow-up behind this, how does OFAC influence foreign transaction? And does the OFAC also influence foreign exchange?
So OFAC is the Office of Foreign Assets Control. It's a regulation. It's U.S. law. It's a list of all of the specially designated nationals. Anything the United States government is putting sanctions or restrictions on will show up on these lists. So, Cuba, Iran, Syria, the countries show up. Any businesses in those countries, terrorists, anyone tied to money laundering. The list has thousands and thousands, and it's well over 10,000 names on it. So every bank is required to run everything they do through OFAC. So we all subscribe to different providers or vendors that offer solutions for us to do this. And it's not just from an international standpoint, it's from a domestic one as well. So from a banking regulation standpoint, we are required to send everything through, hit up against the what we just internally call the OFAC list, which actually is several lists. If you want to read more about it, you can go to the U.S. Treasury website, and you'll know more than you ever wanted to know about it. But it's not just to banks. It's one dealing internationally is required to abide by these regulations. So you can't just look to your bank to list check these for you, because by the time your bank gets involved, these goods might have already set sail and it might be too late. So we list checking them all the time. I mean, with a letter of credit, from the time we get it, we check it. When we get the documents, we check it. And when we get paid, we check it in the whole life cycle of that transaction. But it is a U.S. regulation that is required for all banks, and it also contains ports, vessel names. Maybe if it's an Iranian flag vessel. Now, of course, that vessel would have a hard time calling to port in the United States, but maybe you're shipping from one country to another country and it's not coming to the United States. So all of that needs to be checked. And I wouldn't say that list would be tied to the foreign currency market as well. It's just a banking and trade regulation.
So to kind of carry that on, one of the things that, obviously Scarbrough as a freight forwarder, as many freight forwarders do, and hopefully they all do, is that, we also checking it. It's common, a lot of people hear it called maybe the denied parties list or something along that. And it's kind of one name for a much larger subset of names in different groups within the government that don't allow or put restrictions on some of that trade. And I think something that's interesting for our clients to understand, and you kind of hit on it, is the fact that you as a U.S. company are required to follow U.S. export law, even if that cargo is not leaving directly from the United States, but if you're involved in that transaction. A good example of that is that Scarbrough, with Scarbrough de Mexico, we have our own fully operating Mexican entity. According to U.S. law, that Mexican entity follows the same rules and regulations because of our ownership structure, in that it's owned by a U.S. company, that it would be as Scarbrough International were shipping that product as well. And I just wanted to make sure that those of you on the call kind of understand some of that, and make sure that you're aware that if you're drop shipping something directly from your supplier in Mexico to somewhere else, is that you still have some liability inside of that transaction that you do need to be